Black CEO mocked by billionaire family. Minutes later, she erased their $900
Listen,
M
if we walk away
empire.
now, we lose everything.
Hello everyone,
Are you
before
sure
we
this is what you
begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. Ma'am, this section is for real clients. The words cut through the air like glass. Inside the golden showroom of Horizon, motors, everything gleamed, polished chrome velvet ropes, and the low hum of privilege. But in that quiet luxury, one sound hit harder than an engine roar: laughter. The Bennetts, a billionaire white family, were standing by a silver Aston Martin sipping champagne like it was their birthright. The father smirked, the mother tilted her glass, and the son, barely 20, whispered loud enough for everyone to hear. Guess they let anyone walk in now. Cameras flashed for another family tour, but no one noticed the woman they were mocking. Aaliyah Brooks, dressed in a black tailored suit, no jewelry, no logo, just presence. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't even blink. Her eyes, sharp, observant, moved across the room, taking note of every stare that lingered too long, every whisper that wasn't meant to be heard. A sales associate rushed over, eager to please the Bennetts. "Sorry, sir, ma'am, we'll handle this." Then turning to Aaliyah, voice dipped in courtesy but soaked in disdain, "We don't do test drives for unverified visitors." That word, unverified, hung like a verdict. Aaliyah tilted her head slightly. "I'm not here for a test drive." He smirked. "Of course you're not." Behind her, the son laughed. "She probably just wants a selfie with the car." The audience would feel it right there. The sting, the dismissal, the weight of an old wound reopening in a room built on wealth. Before we continue, the narrator's voice slips in softly but firm. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change. And we're glad you're here. Now, back to Aaliyah. The camera pans in closer, her hand resting lightly on the hood of the car, the reflection of fluorescent light tracing her face. Calm. Composed. But behind those steady eyes, calculation. Aaliyah had walked into showrooms like this before, years ago, when her startup was just an idea scribbled between rejection letters. She remembered how they used to treat her then, the condescension, the "you can't afford this" look. Today was different. She wasn't here to prove herself. She was here to observe who still couldn't see her. A call echoed from the second-floor security. "Please come to the front." The associate smirked again, already stepping back as if a problem had been solved. Aaliyah exhaled slowly. The sound was almost a whisper, but it carried power. Because every time someone underestimated her, the same thing happened next. The air thickened. The family kept laughing. And somewhere unseen, her phone buzzed once, a coded signal. Whatever was about to happen would be recorded, reviewed, and remembered. Fade out. Silence. Then, one heartbeat later, the story truly begins. The security guard arrived too quickly, as if trained to move faster when the wrong kind of silence filled the room. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. The look on the manager's face already told him who was out of place. Aaliyah didn't step back. She simply looked at him, one eyebrow raised, calm, polite, unreadable. "Is there a problem?" The guard hesitated. "Management just asked me to do what." Her tone was soft. "Remove customers who look like me." The room shifted. The laughter from the Bennetts dimmed curiosity, replacing amusement. For a moment, no one breathed. Aaliyah turned toward the mirror like window where the city shimmered beyond the glass. The reflection framed her, a woman standing in the middle of a world that wasn't built to see her. And yet, she was there.
Standing tall.
Unmoved. She adjusted her sleeve slightly, a deliberate motion exposing the edge of her silver watch.
Simple, elegant, corporate.
Not a brand statement. A reminder of time and of how much she owned it. "I'm not upset," she said quietly. "Just observing how fast assumptions travel here." The salesman blinked.
His smile faltered.
Behind him, the billionaire father whispered something to his wife, something about people pretending. Aaliyah heard it. She always did. Her mind drifted back just for a second to a dealership in Atlanta 15 years earlier. A younger version of herself, wearing thrifted heels and a borrowed blazer, had stood in front of another man like this one. He'd looked her up and down and said, "You can't even afford the tires." That night, she went home and wrote her first business plan on the back of a rejection receipt. Now she owned the company that bought that dealership chain. The irony wasn't lost on her. The guard, still awkwardly standing by, shifted his weight. "Ma'am, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "No," she interrupted gently. "There's been an assumption." Her voice didn't rise, but it carried clean, steady cutting through the air like a thin blade. Every word was measured. Every pause, intentional. Across the room, a young intern, clipboard in hand, nerves on edge, watched everything unfold. She couldn't have been older than 22. Her eyes darted between the CEO she didn't recognize and the staff she wished she didn't work with. The tension in the room wasn't noise, it was vibration, the kind that rattles even the confident. Aaliyah finally smiled, faint but certain. "It's all right," she said to the guard. "I'll handle it from here." The guard nodded, uncertain but relieved, stepping back toward the edge of the scene. She took one slow step forward, heels barely tapping the marble. Every eye followed. The laughter had stopped completely now. Aliyah's voice was calm, but beneath it lay something electric, a quiet storm waiting for permission to move. "Continue your tour," she told the Bennetts. "You've already shown me everything I needed to see." The mother frowned, confused. The son rolled his eyes. The father forced a laugh, trying to reassert control. But something in Aaliyah's posture, stillness mixed with certainty, made the air heavier. The kind of silence that comes before accountability. Fade out. The silence didn't last. It never does. Not in places where entitlement hangs heavier than the chandeliers. The showroom manager, Colton Reeves, marched over with the stiff confidence of a man who had never been challenged in his own domain. His suit was sharp, his smile sharper, and his assumptions the sharpest of all. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step away from that vehicle." Aaliyah didn't touch the car. She simply looked at him, steady, neutral, composed. Colton read that calmness as defiance. He wasn't alone. Two sales associates flanked him, Trent, eager grin, eager judgment. Melissa, arms crossed so tight they looked welded in place. The billionaire family watched like they were watching a stage play written just for them. The son whispered something, a joke, judging by his smirk, and Melissa snorted under her breath. Colton cleared his throat dramatically, as if preparing for a performance. "We've had a few incidents lately. People coming in pretending to be buyers. Causing trouble. Filming content. You understand." "Oh, yeah," blinked once.
Slowly.
"I haven't caused trouble." "Not yet," Trent added. "But let's not get there." Aaliyah almost smiled. Almost. Across the room, the young intern Maya, the one with the clipboard, stiffened. She flipped through a page, eyes widening for a fraction of a second. She saw something she wasn't supposed to see. Something that didn't match the script unfolding in front of her. But she didn't speak. Not yet. Colton stepped closer. "May I see your appointment confirmation?" "I don't have an appointment," she said simply. Trent scoffed loudly. "Of course you don't." That louder than necessary reaction rippled through the showroom. A couple browsing a black Lamborghini paused. A man in a navy suit looked up from his espresso. Eyes were gathering, stacking, building a quiet crowd. Across the second-floor balcony, another employee hit a silent alert button, the kind used for suspicious activity. The system registered it as priority yellow. Aaliyah didn't react. She expected it. Colton folded his arms. "This is a luxury facility. We don't allow loitering." The word landed like a slap. Loitering. in a showroom she had just acquired through a silent merger, but no one here knew that yet. The billionaire mother whispered they should screen who walks in. Aaliyah heard that too. Everything, every tone, every bias disguised as concern. Then came the shift. Maya, the young intern, took one hesitant step forward. "Sir," her voice cracked. I think she's on the list." Colton didn't even look at her. "She's not." "But she's not." It was a warning disguised as authority. Maya shrank back, pulse visible in her throat. I watched it quietly. Power, silencing truth, she'd seen it 1,000 times. In meetings, in negotiations. In rooms where men mistook her silence for lack of influence. Colton exhaled like he was doing the world a favor. "Ma'am, for the last time, please step away from the vehicle and leave the premises. We reserve the right to refuse service." Aaliyah lowered her gaze to the polished floor, the reflection of herself framed in glossy marble.
She whispered, barely audible, fascinating.
Trent tilted his head. "What was that?" She lifted her eyes, calm, unshaken, holding something they didn't recognize: restraint. "How quickly you decide who belongs and who doesn't." Colton rolled his eyes.
Security will escort you out.
He signaled the guard with a flick of his fingers, a gesture so small, so entitled it could have been used to dismiss a waiter. The guard stiffened. The order echoed down the hallway. But something else echoed too, a faint buzz from Aaliyah's phone. A coded vibration. A signal only one kind of person would recognize. Protocol is live. Not yet revealed. Not yet unleashed. But awake. The rising tension had reached its peak, and the room didn't even know a storm was already forming around them. For a moment, the room froze in a kind of expensive silence, the kind that exists only in places where people believe money makes them untouchable. Security had begun walking toward her. Colton stood taller, convinced he had restored order. The Bennetts leaned in, ready to enjoy the finale of a scene they believed was scripted in their favor. But the script was about to change. Because someone finally decided they couldn't stay quiet. Maya. The intern, with trembling hands and a clipboard pressed so tight against her chest it might as well have been a shield. Her name badge tilted sideways from nerves, her breath uneven. But her eyes were awake. She swallowed once, stepped forward again, and said, louder, "This time, sir, I saw her name." Colton didn't turn, didn't blink, didn't honor her existence. "Maya," he said, voice clipped, "not now." "But I did," she insisted, volume rising without her permission. "On the internal list. She's cleared for Maya." This time, Colton turned sharply, eyes cold enough to freeze her words. "If you value your internship, stop talking." The threat landed so loudly the entire showroom heard it, even though his voice never rose. Aaliyah watched. Maya really watched her. The fear, the courage trying to push through it. It reminded her of herself 2 decades ago, the first time she challenged a senior executive and got escorted out of a meeting she herself had arranged. History repeats itself until someone breaks it. Maya didn't step back this time. Instead, she lifted her clipboard, hands shaking but voice steadying. "Her name is on the VIP roster." Silence cracked through the room like lightning. The billionaire's son laughed nervously. "Oh, VIPer." But something had shifted.
Subtle but undeniable, like the faint tremor before an earthquake.
From the corner, a customer in a navy suit lowered his espresso and said quietly, "Let the intern speak." And suddenly Maya wasn't alone. Another voice, "If there's a list, check it." A third, "Yeah, why ignore her?" Aaliyah breathed in slowly. Witnesses, sissy. Observers waking up. Truth beginning to take shape. Colton forced a laugh, brittle, defensive, terrified beneath the surface. "There's no VIP list she belongs on. Trust me, I would knee stopped mid-sentence." Because Maya, in a move fueled by something deeper than fear, maybe fairness, maybe instinct, maybe anger, turned her clipboard around and held up the screen of her tablet. A single name glowed across the display, Brooksexa, TivaperiorityClaran. C.A. gasps, rolled across the showroom like a wave. Trent stammered that could be fake. It's on our internal system. Maya snapped, surprising even herself. I didn't put it there.
She didn't put it there.
You didn't put it there. For the first time, Colton's composure cracked. The guard slowed his steps. The billionaire father's grin faltered. Melissa's arms loosened. The air thickened, not with danger, but with realization.
Something was wrong.
Very, very wrong. And Aaliyah simply tilted her head calm as an ocean before a storm. Thank you, Maya, she said softly. 2 simple words, but they carried weight, acknowledgement, protection, promise. Maya exhaled, relief flooding her shoulders, but the tension didn't fade. Not yet. Because admitting the truth and accepting the truth were 2 different battles. Colton stepped forward, trying to reclaim the narrative. Even if her name is there, that doesn't mean anything. Anyone could have. Sir Maya cut in gently. There's also a timestamp. And a clearance code. She swallowed hard. It says owner-level access. The room went silent. A stillness so deep even the lights seemed to hum quieter. Aaliyah hadn't revealed anything yet. She hadn't needed to. The witness had awakened, and the story had officially turned. Everything unraveled at once. The moment Maya spoke the words owner-level access, the showroom felt smaller, like the walls pulled in an inch, like the air thickened into something that couldn't be ignored anymore. But denial is stubborn, and Colton clung to it like a lifeline. This is absurd, he snapped, voice rising for the first time. That system must be glitching, or hacked, or tampered with. Trent nodded too quickly. Melissa folded her arms again as if that posture could shield her from consequences. But the guard, the one who had been approaching earlier, took a single step back. Not in fear. In recognition. People in his line of work knew the look of someone who wasn't bluffing. Still, it wasn't enough, because pride doesn't die quietly. And the billionaire's son, emboldened by the silence of adults who should have known better, strode toward Aaliyah with the same arrogance he carried into every room. Look, he said, let's stop pretending. You're making this weird. He smiled, a performative, dismissive smile. Want a picture with the car? Fine. I'll even stand next to you. My followers love Aaliyah. Didn't move. Didn't flinch. Didn't acknowledge him at all. That only irritated him. He reached out lightly, casually, like she was an object he had every right to guide. His hand touched her elbow. Small contact. But the entire room reacted like something exploded. Gasps hit the air. The guard stepped forward instinctively. Maya's clipboard clattered to the floor. And Aaliyah's eyes, calm, poised, controlled, lifted to the boy's hand. He felt the shift before he understood it. She pulled her arm back. Not violently. Precisely. Like unhooking herself from a chain she'd carried too many times before. Don't touch me, she said. Not loud. Not angry. Just final. The kind of final that could close doors forever. The billionaire father stepped in defensive in the way men get when their authority is threatened. It was just a tap, don't be dramatic. He's trying to be polite. Polite. That word was always a blade disguised as courtesy. Aaliyah inhaled long and slow, and the room felt it, because something deeper was rising. Something older. A memory flickered behind her eyes. Flashback, 22 years old, standing in a boutique dealership, wearing a blazer that didn't fit and hope that didn't last. A manager brushing her shoulder aside as he told her, "Step away, sweetheart. Real buyers only." The heat of the humiliation. the sting of being touched like she was an obstruction. Back then, she walked out with nothing, except resolve. Now, different outcome. Back to the present. The billionaire's son opened his mouth, probably to explain why his touch didn't count, why his entitlement didn't register as wrongdoing. But Aaliyah stepped forward first, one controlled step that reset the entire balance of power. "You don't get to put your hands on people you underestimate," she said softly. Her voice was steady as steel. "Not anymore." Colton jumped in, desperate to regain footing. "This is getting blown out of proportion. She's refusing to cooperate." "She's disrupting," Aaliyah repeated. She lifted her gaze to meet his, and for the first time she didn't just observe him, she assessed him. Measured him. Closed a file on him in her mind. Then she turned slightly, voice carrying just enough to reach the watching crowd. "You all saw the moment he touched me." Nods. Murmurs. A rising wave of agreement. A man near the door said, "I saw everything." Another, "She didn't do a thing wrong." The billionaire mother stepped back as if distancing herself from the fallout. But Aaliyah wasn't done. She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone, not dramatically, but with purpose. One tap, one buzz. A single quiet activation. Her voice stayed calm. Nadia logged the physical contact and began full protocol documentation. A voice answered through the tiny speaker, crisp, efficient protocol recording. "Ready." Everyone heard it. Everyone. Melissa whispered, protocol, Trent's face drained.
Colton's lips parted like he had seen a ghost crawl out of the floor.
Aaliyah's gaze swept the room. "We've reached the breaking point. No yell. No anger. Just truth. And power rising quietly like the tide." This wasn't the climax. It was the moment before the storm hits, when nature grows still and people finally understand they crossed a line they can't walk back from. The room felt different now, not louder, not chaotic, just altered. Like everyone suddenly realized they were standing on a fault line they never noticed before. Aaliyah stood at the center of it, perfectly still. Stillness wasn't weakness. Stillness was calculation. And she was done observing. She lifted her phone again, one smooth motion, deliberate, practiced. "Nadia," she said quietly. "Initiate Horizon Protocol. Level 3. A beat of silence." Then her assistant's voice came through the speaker, crisp as a blade, confirmed. "Level 3 engaged. Compliance systems online." The showroom didn't know what Level 3 meant, but the tone told them it was serious. Colton stepped back half a foot. Not enough to admit fear, just enough to betray it. "This is unnecessary," he protested. "We can talk this out." "No need to escalate." "I'm not escalating," Aaliyah said calmly. "I'm documenting." Nadia's voice continued, live, timestamp locked.
Surveillance sync is active.
Upload stream routed to legal and board review. Gasps. Someone near the lounge whispered board review. Trent's face blanched. Melissa's breath hitched. Maya didn't move. She didn't want to break whatever force field Aaliyah had just placed around herself. The guard swallowed hard. "Ma'am, is something going on that we should know about?" Aaliyah turned slightly toward him, not hostile, not impatient, just aware. She wasn't here to punish the innocent. "No, but you're about to witness accountability." Her voice didn't rise yet, everyone heard it. Across the showroom, the billionaire father finally stepped forward, hands raised as if commanding a boardroom. "All right, enough theatrics. If she wants to call someone, let her. It won't change the fact she walked in here unannounced." Aaliyah looked at him as if he'd confirmed exactly what she needed. "You assume I need your permission to exist in this space?" The mother scoffed. "Oh, please. We're being charitable, letting you." Aaliyah cut her off with one gesture, a small raise of her hand. "Not rude. Just final." The mother stopped mid-sentence, surprised by how instinctively she obeyed. Then Aaliyah said almost conversationally, "Nadia, pull up Horizon Motors branch hierarchy." A soft chime. Ready. Aaliyah continued display names with managerial authority for this location. Another chime. Maya's tablet buzzed. She glanced down and her breath left her lungs. Because on the screen, bold and unmistakable, the first name on the hierarchy wasn't Colton's. It wasn't Trent's. It wasn't any of theirs. It was, Aaliyah Brooks, executive authority holder. Maya's voice trembled as she spoke. She outranks everyone here. Trent whispered, "That can't be real." Melissa stepped back so fast her heel clicked off the floor. The billionaire's son muttered, "No way," but the truth was too large to deny. It had weight. It had gravity. And it pulled the entire room into its orbit. Colton tried anyway. "This doesn't prove anything. Anyone with access to the system could access," Aaliyah repeated softly. "Then try it." She stepped aside, giving him a clear path to the terminal behind the customer service desk. He hesitated. Everyone noticed. The guard exhaled. A customer shook his head.
Someone whispered he's scared to log in.
Colton finally approached the terminal. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, then he typed his credentials. The system beeped. See, yes, yeah, I see you. The screen flashed red. Trent backed up. Melissa covered her mouth. Maya looked like she might faint. Aaliyah's voice was calm enough to freeze time. "Your access was restricted 60 seconds ago. When I initiated protocol." Colton stared at the screen as if looking at his own obituary. Aaliyah took one step forward, not aggressive but definitive. A step that closed the gap between truth and consequence. "You wanted to make a decision about me," she said. "Now I'm making one about you."
She didn't raise her voice.
She didn't need to. This was the turn. The moment the room realized the power imbalance was not simply shifting, it had always belonged to her. For a moment, nothing moved. Not a breath, not a blink, not even the hum of the showroom lights. It was the kind of silence that doesn't calm a room, it exposes it. All eyes were locked on Aaliyah. Her presence, once dismissed, now carried a weight that bent the room's energy around her. She didn't need volume. She didn't need rage. She needed only the truth, and the truth was finally rippling to the surface. Behind her, the giant digital display flickered again. The luxury car ads vanished. The Horizon Motors corporate interface replaced them, glowing in cold blue-white light. Then, line by line, a new heading appeared: EXACUTIVIA UTHORITYVERIFIEDHORIZONA UTOMOTIVADRIU PCIEFFECUTIILFAAA BROOK. As a customer near the espresso bar gasped out loud. Maya, still holding her tablet like a lifeline, whispered to herself, "I knew it. I knew I saw her name."
Colton's throat clicked.
The sound was small, but it traveled. The billionaire father took one shaky step back. His wife pressed a hand to her pearls. The son stared like his mind couldn't process hierarchy unless it benefited him. Aaliyah finally spoke. Her voice didn't rise, but it filled the room all the same, steady, clean slicing with precision. "You spent the last 30 minutes deciding what kind of person I was." She paused, letting the weight settle. "You judged me by your imagination of my worth, not by my actual authority." She walked forward, slow, deliberate. Colton flinched without realizing he'd done it. "You ridiculed me. You doubted me. You tried to remove me from my own property." A ripple of murmurs cut through the air. The billionaire's son stepped forward as if trying to reclaim ground. "You could have just said who you were." Aaliyah turned her head toward him, not hostile, just unwavering. "If your respect depends on knowing someone's title, then you were never offering respect." A sharp breath left Maya's lips. Even the guard lowered his gaze, absorbing the truth in her words. Aaliyah then looked at Colton, not with anger, but with assessment. You called security on me. You restricted where I could stand. You questioned my integrity. She inched closer to him enough that he felt the weight of what was coming. Then the line, the one the room had been unknowingly waiting for, the one that would redefine the next minute. Her voice dropped to a near whisper, the quiet kind that commands absolute attention. You called me a fraud in the company I own. The room broke. A wave of gasps. One customer said, "Oh, damn," under their breath. Someone near the exit muttered, "She's the CEO." She's the actual CEO. The billionaire mother lowered her champagne glass as if it suddenly weighed 20 pounds. Colton's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Authority had fled him completely. Aaliyah stepped back just an inch, reclaiming her space. "Every action you took today was documented," she said. "Every assumption, every insult, every violation of company protocol." Nadia's voice chimed through the phone, verification complete. Protocol documentation fully synced. Aaliyah didn't look at her phone. She didn't need to. Her attention stayed trained on the staff, the ones who had mistaken silence for powerlessness. "This isn't retaliation," she said softly. "This is accountability." And with that, the balance of the entire building shifted. A new center of gravity formed in the room, and it was her. The reveal was done. Now the consequences would begin. The moment the truth settled, the room didn't just fall silent, it buckled. Like the air itself realized who held the real authority here. Colton stood frozen, a man watching the ground open beneath him. His authority, once loud and unchallenged, was now the weakest sound in the room. Aaliyah didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Power didn't shout. It simply shifted, and everyone felt it. She tapped her phone once. "Nadia," she said barely above a whisper. "Execute branch review protocol." A crisp confirmation chimed through the speaker. "Protocol active. Branch authority suspended. Management override initiated." A red band of light swept across every staff tablet. One by one, screens froze. Then the message appeared: a CCESSLO CKEDE XECUTIV EREVEIEIEW INPROGRASS. Melissa gasped. Trent staggered back, hitting the hood of a Maserati he'd been showing off earlier. And Colton reached for his tablet out of instinct, but the screen didn't even recognize his fingerprint. This can't be happening," he stammered. I've worked here 15 years." Aaliyah turned slightly gaze level. "And in 15 years, she said you didn't learn the first rule of leadership." He swallowed. Hard. Respect is not optional. The billionaire father stepped in again, still clinging to the idea that money equaled negotiation. "Look, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. I'm sure we can all just..." Aaliyah's eyes met his, steady as steel. "This is not your negotiation." His mouth clamped shut. Behind her, the guard stepped forward, not to remove her, but to clarify Mims. "Brooks, what are your instructions?" The question landed like a slap of reality across the entire room. Even the customers straightened, waiting. Aaliyah took a breath, a calm, measured inhale that seemed to reset the entire atmosphere. "First," she said, "free staff access until my audit team arrives." Nadia's voice echoed, confirming. "All staff permissions revoked." Melissa choked out, all staff, all who participated," Aaliyah clarified. "Which appears to be most of you." Maya lowered her head, not in shame, but in stunned relief that someone was finally naming the truth. Aaliyah continued her tone, unwavering. "Second security escort manager Colton Reeves to the conference room. He will wait there for HR and compliance." Colton stepped back as if the floor had turned molten. "Ms. Brooks, please, it was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding," she said, "stops when someone listens." "You never did." The guard moved toward him. Colton lifted his hands defensively, but it didn't matter. The collapse had already begun. The billionaire's son muttered, "This is insane." Aaliyah turned her gaze on him, calm, unyielding. Actions have consequences. Even yours. He shut up instantly. Then she addressed the room, every witness, every spectator, every person who had watched injustice unfold, without stepping in until the truth forced them to. You all saw what happened, she said. This is what it looks like when power is abused in plain sight. And this is what it looks like when accountability arrives. A small sound broke the tension, a clap. One single clap. The man in the navy suit. He clapped again. Then again. Slow, deliberate. Others joined him. A ripple of applause spread across the showroom, not loud but resolute. A quiet acknowledgement that Justice had walked in wearing a tailored black suit. Even Maya wiped a tear from her cheek, the release of pressure she didn't know she'd been carrying. Didn't smile. This wasn't triumph. It was necessary correction. Clear the showroom, she said softly. Effective immediately, this branch is under executive control. Nadia confirmed branch lockdown initiated. The staff looked around, pale, breathless, undone. The collapse was complete. Now only one thing remained, a statement that would define everything. The room didn't just quiet, it fell. A collapse measured not in sound, but in the faces of those who finally understood what had slipped through their fingers. Aaliyah stood at the center of the showroom, not triumphant, not enraged, simply resolute. The kind of resolute that shakes structures far larger than a single building. She lifted her phone, pressing one final command. Nadia, she said softly, connect me to finance and acquisitions. The Billionaire family froze. A new voice answered through the speaker, formal and steady. Director Hale here. Brooks. Standing by. Aaliyah's eyes never left the people who had mocked her. Terminate the Bennett Automotive merger, she said. Effective immediately. The words detonated in the silence. Maya gasped. The staff stared. Customers shifted wide-eyed. The guard stood straighter as if witnessing history. The billionaire father staggered forward, voice cracking. Ms. Brooks, that deal is $900 million, she finished. Her tone didn't rise. It sharpened. And not a cent of it goes to people who treat dignity like it's negotiable. Director Hale didn't hesitate. Understood. Canceling the Bennett deal now. All contracts void. Assets and funds reverting. A soft digital chime confirmed it. A corporate earthquake initiated by a whisper. The billionaire mother covered her mouth with trembling fingers. The son muttered 900 million as if his brain couldn't process loss at that altitude. Aaliyah finally turned away from them, addressing not the guilty but the room, the witnesses who needed to hear this. People think power is loud, she said. But real power is choice. She walked slowly toward the center of the aisle the crowd had formed for her. Today, you saw what happens when people choose disrespect. When they decide someone's worth before they know their name. Her eyes softened, not pitying, not forgiving, but honest. I've been underestimated my whole life. That part never bothered me. She looked toward Maya, who wiped a tear discreetly. What bothers me, she continued, is when disrespect becomes policy. When arrogance becomes culture. Colton, now escorted but still within earshot, lowered his head. The weight of everything finally reached him. Aaliyah faced the room once more. The Bennett merger is gone. Because no amount of money justifies partnering with people who can't recognize humanity when it's standing right in front of them. Every word was carved cleanly into the air. Then she delivered the line, the one that would echo beyond the walls, beyond the showroom, beyond the moment. I didn't raise my voice today. I raised the standard. Silence. Then a slow, rising wave of applause, deeper than before, fuller, carrying respect instead of spectacle. Maya stepped beside her. Aaliyah nodded once, subtle approval. The billionaire family backed away, their empire undone, not by rage, but by principle. Aaliyah walked toward the glass doors, light pouring over her like the world opening. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She had ended a $900 million deal with the same calm she used to endure their mockery. Justice had already been delivered, and dignity had walked out with her. By morning, every major business outlet had pushed the headline to the top of their feed, a $900 M deal canceled over public disrespect. CEO ends merger after showroom incident? Dignity over dollars. Aaliyah Brooks sets new corporate precedent. Comment sections split open, some stunned, some inspired, many unable to look away. Clips leaked from bystanders who had recorded parts of the confrontation. Short videos captured Aaliyah's sharp composure, Maya's brave interruption, and the moment the billionaire family realized who they were dealing with. But none of that noise reached her office directly. Not yet, Ted. The Horizon headquarters towered above the city's steel and glass, catching the early sun. Inside the top floor, the boardroom felt colder than usual. Directors, VIPs, analysts, all seated, all tense. When Aaliyah entered, no one stood. Not out of disrespect, out of awe.
Her silence still carried the weight of the previous day.
She placed her tablet on the table, calm as ever. We'll begin. Director Hale cleared his throat softly. Miss Brooks, we've completed the cancellation of the Bennett merger. All contractual pathways severed. The legal team supports your decision. Another director added, and social sentiment is overwhelmingly in your favor. People admire what you did. Aaliyah didn't flinch. I didn't do it for admiration. I did it because leadership requires a line and the courage to enforce it. The room absorbed her words like a lecture delivered in perfect stillness. CFO spoke next, cautious financially. We can weather the cancellation, but the market is reacting. He turned the screen. A chart dipped, then settled, then rose, slightly stabilizing. Yeah, nodded. Exactly as expected. Profit without principle is a loss, she said. We'll recover, and we'll be stronger for it. A moment of silence followed, then several board members exchanged glances, realizing the truth they'd known, but never spoken. This woman wasn't replaceable. She was the reason Horizon stood where it stood. A notification buzzed on Aaliyah's phone. Nadia's voice came through Ms. Brooks, Maya Flores has arrived.
She's waiting outside.
Aaliyah allowed the faintest smile invisible unless someone looked closely. Send her in. The door opened. Maya stepped in slowly, not the nervous intern from the showroom, but a young woman trying to hold herself steady under the weight of opportunity. Ms. Brooks, I didn't expect you, spoke up Aaliyah, said, cutting gently. You told the truth when it was difficult. That matters more than experience. Maya swallowed, eyes warming. I'm offering you a new position, Aaliyah continued. Executive Operations Assistant. Full salary. Full mentorship. You'll work directly under me. Maya's breath hitched. Tears gathered, not dramatic, just real. I won't let you down. I know, Aaliyah replied. Behind them, the board watched, not out of disapproval, but out of quiet admiration for the way she rebuilt the future one principled choice at a time. As the meeting adjourned, Aaliyah walked to the window overlooking the city. Traffic crawled far below people, moved sunlight reflected off skyscrapers, unaware a cultural shift had taken root at the top of one of them. Nadia's voice chimed once more, Ms. Brooks, the Bennett family is requesting a call. Aaliyah didn't turn from the window. Decline. Any message, a short pause. Then, no message. They already received it. Outside, the city breathed. Inside, the air steadied. Aaliyah Brooks had walked into a showroom as a stranger, walked out as a statement, and now stood as the woman who proved that power is greatest when grounded in dignity.
She closed her eyes for a moment.
Calm.
Centered.
Unmoved. The deal was gone. But the standard would last forever.